10 bad habits you must quit right now. Transform your life through Buddhist wisdom. Have you ever felt like, no matter how much you try, you're still trapped in the same patterns, feeling held back from reaching your potential? Imagine if the habits anchoring you to the past could be identified and gently released, leading you towards a life filled with peace, purpose, and self-fulfillment. As the Buddha wisely taught, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. This statement offers profound insight into how our lives are shaped by our mental habits and practices. Often, we get bogged down by habits that drain our energy and limit our growth without even realizing it. Today, we'll journey through Buddhist teachings to uncover 10 common habits that quietly sabotage our progress, holding us back from living fully. Letting go of these will allow us to align with our true selves, helping us grow into the best versions of ourselves. Let's take a step forward together to discover and break free from these 10 habits. Habit 1. People-pleasing. Why seeking approval keeps you stuck. One of the most subtle yet impactful habits is people-pleasing. Constantly seeking approval, hoping that if we make everyone else happy, we'll find peace ourselves. However, Buddhism emphasizes authenticity as the key to peace, and trying to please everyone is ultimately exhausting and unachievable. The cost of people-pleasing. The desire to gain others' approval often means saying yes when we feel no and bending to others' expectations. This habit not only leads to stress, but also draws us away from our values and authentic desires, causing a loss of self-connection. In Buddhism, true fulfillment comes from aligning our actions with our principles rather than the fleeting opinions of others. The Buddhist path to freedom. To break free, begin by recognizing that your worth doesn't depend on others' perceptions. Practice staying true to your values, even if that means saying no. By letting go of this need to seek validation, you free yourself to live more genuinely, deeply rooted in your own truths. Personal action step. Next time you're tempted to agree just to please someone, pause and ask if it aligns with your principles. Gently train yourself to accept that people may not always approve, but your inner peace and self-worth remain intact. Habit 2. Overthinking. How constant worry robs you of peace. Overthinking is a mental trap that can paralyze us, pulling us into cycles of worry and doubt that prevent us from fully experiencing life. Buddhism teaches mindfulness as a powerful tool to quiet the mind, allowing us to focus on the present rather than the what-ifs that cloud our thoughts. Understanding overthinking's harm. Overthinking is essentially an attempt to gain control over uncertain situations, yet it's precisely this need for control that fosters anxiety. We worry about countless maybes that often never come to pass, cluttering our minds and diverting us from true presence and peace. The practice of mindfulness in action. Mindfulness encourages us to let go of control and trust in the natural flow of life. With mindfulness practices like meditation, you can gradually train your mind to detach from unnecessary worries. Instead of trying to solve every problem, you learn to accept life's uncertainties with a sense of calm. Personal action step. When you catch yourself overthinking, practice mindful breathing. Focus on your breath and gently redirect your attention to the present moment. With practice, you'll find it easier to embrace peace over perfection. Habit 3. Constant worry. The weight that drains your energy. Worry is like carrying an invisible burden that weighs you down every day. In Buddhism, worry is seen as a form of suffering that separates us from the present, robbing us of peace and contentment. The effects of constant worry. When we constantly worry, we're anticipating negative outcomes that haven't even happened. This drains our energy, leaving us mentally fatigued and distracted. Chronic worrying affects our mood and hinders us from fully appreciating the present. The Buddhist approach to letting go. Buddhism teaches that peace comes from accepting things as they are, focusing only on what we can control. Through practices like mindful breathing and acceptance, you can release unnecessary concerns and make space for present joy. Personal action step. Each day, take 5 minutes to meditate on things within your control versus those outside of it. Allow yourself to mentally release the things you can't control, like a balloon floating away, and notice the lightness that follows. Habit 4. Self-doubt. Overcoming the voice that limits you. Self-doubt is an invisible barrier keeping you from embracing your full potential. It whispers that you're not enough, questioning your abilities and keeping you from chasing your goals. Buddhism highlights the importance of self-trust and faith in our inner wisdom to cultivate confidence. How self-doubt holds you back. Often fueled by past experiences, fear of failure or judgment, self-doubt prevents us from taking risks and exploring new possibilities. It limits our potential, robbing us of the courage to grow and learn. Finding strength through faith and self-compassion. In Buddhism, practicing self-trust and self-compassion is essential. Reframe self-doubt by remembering past achievements, acknowledging your strengths, and approaching new experiences with a beginner's mind, free of judgment. Personal action step. When self-doubt creeps in, remind yourself that each step forward is a part of learning. By letting go of the need for perfection, you embrace growth, finding confidence in your efforts rather than outcomes. Habit 5. Negative self-talk. Replacing the inner critic with compassion. Our inner dialogue shapes our perception of reality. Negative self-talk, or constantly criticizing and doubting yourself, can erode confidence and self-worth over time. Buddhism places a strong emphasis on right speech, which includes the way we communicate with ourselves. The power of self-compassion. Negative self-talk often becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, reinforcing feelings of inadequacy and limiting beliefs. By replacing critical self-talk with compassion, you begin to nurture a healthy sense of self, building a resilient mindset. The Buddhist practice of loving kindness. In Buddhism, self-compassion is cultivated through metta, or loving kindness. This practice involves showing kindness to ourselves as we would to others. When you catch yourself engaging in negative self-talk, pause and redirect your thoughts toward understanding and compassion. Personal action step. Start each day by repeating a self-affirming mantra like, "I am enough just as I am," or "I am worthy of love and kindness." Over time, this shift in self-talk will lead to greater resilience and a sense of inner peace. Habit 6. Procrastination. Breaking the cycle of avoidance. Procrastination often stems from a desire for comfort or an avoidance of difficult tasks. Buddhism teaches the value of right effort or consistent, purposeful action as a means of growth. Recognizing procrastination's impact. Each time you delay action, you reinforce a habit of avoidance that can be challenging to break. This leads to missed opportunities and a buildup of stress as tasks remain unfinished. The Buddhist approach to action, breaking tasks down into small, manageable steps, can help reduce overwhelm, making it easier to take action. Setting intentions and practicing mindful focus can replace avoidance with deliberate, positive action. Personal action step. When faced with a task, break it down into small steps and set a timer for just 5 minutes to get started. Often, taking the first step is the hardest, and momentum will follow. Habit 7. Comparing yourself to others. Finding peace in your own path. Constantly comparing yourself to others is a recipe for unhappiness. In Buddhist philosophy, comparison is seen as a form of desire and attachment that distracts from our own path. By focusing on what others have, we rob ourselves of the joy and gratitude for what we already possess. The destructive nature of comparison. Comparison often leads to feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, and resentment, which create internal conflict and insecurity. In chasing someone else's success or happiness, we lose sight of our unique journey and gifts. Buddhist wisdom on contentment. The concept of mudita in Buddhism encourages us to feel genuine joy for the happiness and success of others. This mindset doesn't diminish our worth, but instead fosters kindness, compassion, and gratitude. By celebrating others' achievements, we free ourselves from the burden of comparison. Personal action step. Practice gratitude daily by listing 3 things you're grateful for in your life. The more you appreciate your own path, the less need you'll feel to compare it to others. Habit 8. Holding on to anger. Releasing resentment to find freedom. Anger is a natural emotion, but when we hold on to it, it becomes a heavy burden. Buddhism views anger as a form of suffering, not for those who have wronged us but for ourselves. By holding on to anger, we create a toxic cycle of resentment that distances us from peace. The harmful effects of holding on to anger. When we harbor anger, it affects our mental and physical well-being, draining our energy and focus. This anger, if left unresolved, often leads to regret and escalates into further conflicts, damaging relationships and inner peace. The path of forgiveness and compassion. In Buddhist practice, forgiveness is a form of self-liberation. By forgiving others, we release ourselves from the pain they caused us. Through meditation and compassion, we learn to see beyond others' actions and recognize that holding on to resentment only harms us. Personal action step. Each time you feel anger arising, take a few deep breaths and imagine letting go of the anger with each exhale. Over time, visualize forgiving those who wronged you, not for their sake, but for your peace. Habit 9. Chasing material possessions, embracing simplicity. In our consumer-driven world, it's easy to fall into the habit of equating happiness with possessions. However, Buddhism teaches that true contentment doesn't come from what we own, but from what we let go of. The pursuit of material things can lead to endless desire, leaving us constantly wanting more. The emptiness of materialism. While possessions can bring temporary pleasure, they don't offer lasting fulfillment. The pursuit of more often distracts us from cultivating meaningful experiences, relationships, and self-understanding. Living mindfully with simplicity, Buddhist principles encourage a life of simplicity, focusing on what truly matters. By practicing mindful awareness, we learn to value experiences over possessions, embracing the concept that less is more. Letting go of material desires allows space for peace and contentment. Personal action step. Try a gratitude inventory. Write down the meaningful things in your life that don't involve material possessions. Focus on nurturing these rather than accumulating more things. Habit 10. Clinging to the past. Finding freedom in the present moment. One of the most powerful habits that hold us back is an attachment to the past, whether it's clinging to fond memories or regretting mistakes. In Buddhism, this attachment is seen as a form of suffering that keeps us from fully living in the present. How the past restricts the present. When we dwell on the past, we're mentally chained to events that no longer serve us. Whether it's nostalgia or regret, these attachments prevent us from moving forward, weighing us down with emotions that disrupt our inner balance. The practice of letting go with compassion. Buddhism emphasizes that the present moment is the only reality we have. By focusing on the here and now, we can release the past with compassion, forgiving ourselves and others. Meditation and mindfulness can help us remain grounded in the present, letting go of the burdens we carry from the past. Personal action step. When memories of the past arise, acknowledge them with compassion, but gently redirect your attention to the present. Practicing mindful breathing can help anchor you in the here and now, freeing you from past attachments. Conclusion. Embracing a life of peace and purpose. Breaking free from these habits is not an overnight process, but each step brings you closer to a life of fulfillment and peace. By embracing Buddhist wisdom, we learn to let go of what no longer serves us, cultivating habits that nurture our inner well-being. Every day is a new opportunity to live more mindfully, treating yourself and others with compassion and understanding. As you continue this journey, may you find the strength to release these habits, discovering a path of true freedom and happiness.